Hello. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mary, and today is going to be the start of my September vlog. It is actually September 19th, I think, today, so starting this a little late, but I do want to get back into making videos, and I think, again, I've said this before, but I think vlogging is going to be the best way to do that. So I started to vlog the readathon I participated in August, which was the Aurelium readathon, and then things just got too crazy and I could not keep up with the vlog and it just didn't work out for me. But today I edited the vlog that I made back in July for dystopian, reading dystopian books, so I will link that for you somewhere. And that should be at least one video before this, if not two, because I'm also planning on doing a wrap up for August and September at some point. So hopefully that will pop up at some point. I don't know exactly when that will be, but that's the plan. So this is going to be just the end of September reading vlog, catching you up on a few things. So I am reading some things. I guess I should go get one of the books that I'm reading. Hold on. Okay, so I am in the middle of a couple of things. I just ran and got two of the things that I own physically. I'm in the middle of The Line of Beauty by Alan Hollinghurst, which is a literary fiction book from, gosh, I think either the 90s or early 2000s. But this is about a guy named Nick Guest who is staying at a family friend's house, or like a college friend's family's house. It's the Feddens. And this is set in the 80s. Nick is gay, and it's like implied that he's had this really long crush on his friend, whose name I believe is Toby or Tobias. Maybe Toby short for Tobias, not really sure. But he's staying at Toby's family's house, and it starts out like the summer after he graduated from uni, or from Oxford, I think is where he went. And then we sort of jump forward in time and it follows him having like various affairs. I think it is kind of touching on the AIDS crisis, although I've never read anything, to my knowledge, to my memory, set in the UK during that. But it also is talking a lot about Margaret Thatcher and like working class complaints, but it's following Nick through several different like love affairs. So his first one is, and this is all in the synopsis, I checked before doing this, but the first one is with this guy, Leo, who he meets in like an ad. I don't really know exactly how that works, but Leo is working class and he's black. And then he also ends up dating this guy, Wani, which is short for Antoine, who is like a Lebanese millionaire. I don't know if he's like the heir to some business or exactly what is going on, but that's the part that I'm at right now. Again, I am enjoying it, but it's like one of those books that I'm like trying to figure out. I think I'm just too used to genre fiction. I can't figure out what the plot is supposed to be, and that's a little frustrating almost for me. So I've been reading it forever, but I finally like sat down and like actually got some reading in. I was reading it during sprints, and so I got like, I'm about halfway now. If you can see, that's where I'm at. And this is like the beginning half. So I'm just under halfway at this point. So it's going well. It's fine. I'm also rereading Scythe right now by Neil Shusterman, which is the first in a YA dystopian series about this future world where basically all human ailments are cured. People can live forever, but for population control reasons, there's this group called the Scythes that are basically sent to, they call it gleaning, but they just kill a certain number of people a year. That's their job. And we're following two people who are being apprenticed to be Scythes, Citra and Rowan. I first started this book 2 years ago as a buddy read, and I know I read it with Hugo, whose channel link below. It's like Scientist Reading World, I think is his channel. And then I think I read it with Amanda from her Pacific Northwest Washington Life. She doesn't post anymore. But I think she's who buddy read it with us, but I cannot remember for the life of me. And then I think I ended up finishing it with just Amanda, but I've buddy read a lot with Amanda, so I could just be making that up and she could not be the person I'm thinking of. But I think it was her. Anyways, I really liked it the first time I read it, but I just wanted to reread it. I just posted a dystopian vlog. This is the kind of dystopian I really like, so I've just been in kind of a dystopian mood, and I knew I already liked the series, so I'm gonna reread it. I remember having some problems with it, but like, I don't know. Either way, I'm having a good time. Also, my nails are getting so long. Look at this. It looks like I have a little Coke nail, but it's not. I'm just growing them out. This one broke the other day, so it's not this long. But anyways, I'm also reading, and I'm reading Scythe as an ebook. That's the other thing I should say. I got the ebook from my library, so I haven't been reading it physically, so I don't know where I am in that, but I'm about 50% of the way through Scythe as well. And it's a very fast-paced book. It's really quick and easy to read. But I'm also reading as an ebook a Harry Potter fan fiction. So this is kind of hard to explain. It's called, safe word is Devil's Snare. And it's a Neville Longbottom and Hermione Granger fanfic. So, and Neville's like into BDSM, so that's why it's called that. But I'm blushing talking about it. I don't usually talk about like fanfic and stuff that I read. I don't read a ton of it, but when I do, I usually don't talk about it. But this one's on Goodreads, so I don't know. I'm getting into my like spicy era, I guess. But it's set after like the war and stuff, and so basically the premise is that a bunch of people got married after the Great War, like the War of Hogwarts or whatever it's fucking called. A bunch of people got married, including like Harry and Ginny and Hermione and Ron, but they weren't like actually compatible. And so everyone who's having babies from that time, all of the babies are born squibs, which means they don't have any magical abilities. And so magic is dying out and people are really freaked out by this. Hermione works at the ministry at this point. She's been divorced from Ron for 2 years when the book starts. They got divorced because their just relationship was not working out. Harry and Ginny have gotten divorced in the last year. So like everyone is broken up, basically. Also, one of the Weasley twins dies. Spoiler alert for Harry Potter, I'm pretty sure. And he's alive in the book. So I don't know exactly what has changed and what has not changed. I've been trying to keep track of that, but it doesn't really matter. But the premise is the ministry has come up with this spell that you can use to determine if you have like magic with someone else. And then that raises the probability of you having a child that will be magical, basically. So Hermione goes to this thing to like get matched with her person as like a whatever. Harry ends up getting matched with Hannah. Is it Hannah Abbott? Is that her name? Which I thought was funny because I think she and Neville end up married in the books. But I could be wrong about that. Again, it's been a really long time since I've read any of these books. But Neville and Hermione match. They're like fated mates or whatever. But it's just really fun. And then, of course, it's a little spicy because, you know, he's introducing her to the world of bondage. And he used to date Hannah in this universe. And he says that, like, Luna is who introduced him. He dated Luna for a while. She's who introduced him to bondage. And then he and Hannah broke up because Hannah didn't like it. So, anyways, that's, like, the backstory on that book. But I'm really enjoying it. It's very, like, sweet. Like, I usually don't buy into, like, romances that much, but I really like this one's well written and it's really sweet. I'm reading it on AO3, but I'm sure that it's other places too. But the reason I'm reading that, I should have started with this. I started getting like TikToks of people recommending things based on like filters on TikTok. So there's one filter on TikTok that has a bunch of Harry Potter characters that randomizes, and then like phrases that randomize that are all like kind of sexual, you know? And so she recommended safe word is Devil's Snare for like Neville, and I don't remember what the phrase was, but I saw that and I was like, damn, I've never read a Neville fan fiction, I don't think, which is odd because not that I like ship Neville with people generally, but like Matthew Lewis is one of the most attractive people in that whole franchise, especially in like obviously only in the later movies. In the earlier movies, he's of course 11 and supposed to be like a little kid, so I'm not talking about that. But like, when he's older, like he had one of the best glow ups I think I've ever seen on like film and television. So shout out to Matthew Lewis. Good for you, babe. I don't know where you are in the world, but I hope you're thriving because you definitely were in Deathly Hallows Part 2. But, so yeah, that's why I'm reading it, and it's very good. I really like it, and I'm like blushing and giggling about it because it seems silly to talk about, but I did put it on my Goodreads because I saw that it's on there, so I was like, might as well count it towards one of my books of the year. So anyways, I'm reading that, and then I'm listening to an audiobook which is called There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job. It's translated from Japanese, and it's kind of boring, I won't lie, but it's about this girl who just is like sick of working, like who I can relate, who can't relate. So she's talking about how much she like doesn't like any of her jobs, and none of her jobs are working out for her, so it's just her like doing odd jobs. And I think her premise is like working sucks and having to sell your labor in the capitalist regime is terrible, which again, relatable, but it's just not the most interesting book. But she starts out and she's working for this like government agency type thing where she's like observing citizens who are smuggling things. It's like a surveillance job, which I thought was really interesting. And then her second job is writing ads for like a bus system. It's also like, I don't know if it's dystopian or sci-fi or what is going on, but there's like weird things that happen. Like when she was working at the bus place, if she would just write a random ad, a new business would pop up that fit that ad description. And if she would delete an ad, a business would say it was shutting down. So again, not explained, but like just kind of weird. And now she's working at like a cracker manufacturer, something. So I'm not quite halfway in that. I'm like 40% of the way through like everything that I'm reading, except for St. Florida's Devil Snare, which I've got like 50 pages left of, 40 pages left of, not very much. But yes, that is what I'm reading right now. This has been a crazy long update. We had the plumber over here this morning. That's why I'm working from home today, is because I had to be here to let the plumbers in. We had a leak in our sewer, and not sewer, a leak in our cellar, excuse me. So there's a drain down there, so it's not flooded, but like, I think the water was on like all day yesterday. So our water bill is going to be a pain in the ass this month. But because we both heard it in the morning, assumed it was like a toilet running and just left. And we came back and yeah, so oops. But that was fixed today. They came by last night and fixed most of it. And then this morning, they needed one more part. So they came by and fixed it again, which was great. But that's it that I have really as far as updates go. What else am I doing this week? I'm going to Omaha this week, so I'll probably vlog a little bit of that for work. So it's not that exciting, but if I do anything, I'll vlog that. And I, of course, will keep you apprised of my reading updates, but that's it for right now. And I will talk to you in a little bit with an update for this vlog, hopefully. Hello, excuse my wet hair. I just got out of the shower. And as you may or may not be able to tell, I'm at a hotel right now. So I'm in Omaha for work, but I wanted to quickly update this vlog because on the way up here, I actually finished my audiobook that I was listening to. I was listening to There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job by Kikuko Sumara. I don't know how her name is pronounced, but I believe that is correct. And as I mentioned, it follows this woman who is at this like job seeking agency, and she basically just takes regular jobs because she's experiencing some burnout from her career. I will say the whole book is very like meandering in plot as you follow her through like 4 different jobs, and she talks about like the daily functions of them and how she feels doing them, and if she's bored or if she's invested in the job. And she has a tendency to get like over invested in jobs, if that makes sense. And so it's like a little bit of like following her, not stream of consciousness necessarily, but like her like brain flow while she's doing these jobs. And then just like the little things that are happening at her jobs. And then at the end, you kind of find out more about her. So I feel like this whole book kind of felt very plotless, and meandering. And then it gets to the end and you're like, oh, that was the point. So I liked the ending. I liked the way it turned up. I liked what we learned about the character, but you also never learned her name, which is interesting. But overall, I didn't like love this book. I'm probably going to give it 3 stars. And then I also finished that ebook that I was listening to. That was the Harry Potter fan fiction. Not listening to, that I was reading. St. Florida's Devil Snare. I gave that 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed that one. It's like obviously got a lot of like it's very spicy, very steamy, but also it was very like wholesome and sweet. Hermione and Neville are never a pairing that I would have considered before, but I'm very glad that I read it. Like now I want to read more Neville fan fiction because I really enjoyed it, and I just like really enjoyed my read of that. So I think if you're in the mood for something short and spicy, there's not a whole lot of angst, which I know a lot of people really like in their romance. I don't feel like I really missed it, but I feel like if it had been any longer, I would have been like, okay, what is the point here? But it was cute for what it was. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I had a good time reading it, and I'm glad that I read it. I also have started listening to an audiobook. I'm not very far into it, but I started listening to it on my drive up here because I had some more time in the car, and I was kind of sick of listening to music after I finished my other book, so I started the audiobook for Mrs. March. I don't know the author off the top of my head, but I will try to let you know that at some point in this vlog. But it's, I think, supposed to be like a domestic thriller. It's not very thrilling at the minute, but it's about this older woman who lives on the Upper East Side, New York City, and she's married to a famous author named George. All we know of her so far is that she's Mrs. March. They've not referred to her by her first name, but George has just come out with a new book. Who's a character and there was a character in his new book who is like a like fat prostitute who can't like seem to get work, and someone comments to Mrs. March that the character is like based on her, and so we're sort of seeing her like spiral with that and learn more about her relationship with George. And he was her professor in college, and like sort of the nature of the start of their relationship. But also when she is going to a study, she's trying to find the book so she can read it and figure out if the character is really about her. This is all the very beginning, so none of this is spoilers. But she finds a newspaper clipping that he has kept about a woman who is from Maine who went missing recently. And so she's like, that's weird. Why is he keeping this? And then she just assumes it's for research for his book. So I assume that George is somehow involved in that. I don't really know. It hasn't really been said, but where I'm at in the book, she is about to host a dinner party to celebrate George's new book at their apartment in New York. And yeah, so that's what's happening so far. I won't lie, it's a bit boring at the minute, but I am hoping that it picks up and gets more interesting, because I feel like the last couple of things that I've read have been fairly mediocre. I'm getting through a lot of things that I put on my TBR years ago that I don't necessarily feel that interested in now, and I'm wondering if I would have been if I'd read them years ago, or like, because when I was first building out my TBR on Goodreads, and just like I keep a separate list for myself of books that I'm like mildly interested in reading, and then they go to my Goodreads TBR when they're actually on my TBR, but a lot of those books I got from like book lists that I read or saw when I first got into reading again in like 2017, 2018. So I don't know when Mrs. March came out, but there was a deal on audiobooks.com, which I have a membership with, not sponsored, obviously. I don't have a code or anything to give you, but it's like $15 a month, which is kind of expensive. And I did it so that I could get the audiobook of Grapes of Wrath when I was buddy reading that, because I was not making it through physically, which I don't recommend the audiobook, by the way. So there's that. But yeah, they sometimes have little bundles for members where you can buy audiobooks. You can get 2 audiobooks for 1 credit, which is $15 a month. So that's what I've done. This was in a bundle. I don't remember the other book that I got with it, but anyways, that's why I'm reading it. Other things I'm working on, I'm still reading through Scythe. I'm still enjoying it. I like Scythe. I'm probably going to read some more of that right now. I brought my book, the physical book that I'm reading, called The Line of Beauty by Alan Hollinghurst, but that one, again, I'm not like disliking it. Like, I like it when I'm reading it, but it's like I'm not in the mood, like I'm never in the mood to read that, if that makes sense. So it's like fine, but I'm not like really loving reading it. I don't think I'm in a reading slump, because like I'm in the mood to read, just nothing is really like gripping me at the minute, which is why I started rereading Scythe. I've been saying I wanted to for a while, and when I was like trying to scramble for what I should pick up, that's what I picked up, because I'm going to reread. I think I'm going to reread the whole series. I don't know. We'll see how I feel at the end of the first one, because I might just read that and then read Gleanings or whatever, the short stories that came out. But anyways, that's my update. I will let you know when I have another one at some point. Okay, bye. Hi. Are you scared? I'm sorry, baby. Hello. That was a little sneak peek of Murphy. He is hiding under the covers because it's storming out. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but every once in a while there's thunder. I'm back home, obviously. It was just like a night thing in Omaha, but I did want to let you know that on the drive home, I finished Mrs. March by Virginia Feito is the author, Feito, I believe. And essentially, the premise of this book is you're following a woman, like I mentioned, whose husband wrote this book. He's a novelist, and she's basically like pretty dissatisfied with her life. She can't really figure out like how to please everyone around her. She's also getting very paranoid that everyone is talking about her, and that like this book was written about her, and this character that's terrible was based on her. And so like this book is basically like a downward spiral of hers. But it is interesting. Like, you never learn her name until the very, very end of the book, which I sort of figured would happen. And I will say, there are a lot of red herrings in this book, but I don't know that I would necessarily classify this as a thriller. It does have the like, it's written in a very like tense way, so you are kind of like, what is actually going on in this book? But I don't know, without spoiling it, I can't really say very much about it, but yeah, it was fine. I gave it 3 stars. I really liked the ending of it, and I thought it wrapped up really well, but this book suffered from the same thing that There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job suffered from for me, which was that the whole time I was reading it, I was like, and what is the point? And what is the plot? Like, they're hard to describe books because there's not really much happening in them. And I think I'm just in the mood for genre fiction or something. So I have actually picked up another audiobook. I'm reading The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson, which I'm not very far into it. I'm like 15% of the way in. And it's about this girl whose name is Kelsey. She just turned 19. She's been kept away in the woods since she was a baby because her mother, I think, was murdered. She's like the queen. And now that she's 19, she can rise to the throne, and she's being taken back basically to this kingdom called the Tearling, where she's going to be the ruler. And there's another woman named the Red Queen who is the bad guy, and I'm sure we'll find out more about that as we go along. But that's like all I really have from it so far. It's pretty good. The narrator of the audiobook reads really slowly, which means I'm reading it at 2.75 times speed, which is quite fast for me, but I am enjoying it. So I will keep you apprised of my updates as I get them, and I will hopefully talk to you soon. Good morning. I'm back in this position because I'm working from home. The internet in my office shut down, which is very convenient for me because I was kind of planning on working from home anyways, because clearly I overslept. I'm not ready for the day yet. But now no one can work at my office. So it worked out for me. I wanted to update this vlog just quickly while I'm in between tasks here and let you guys know that I did finish Scythe. I finished my Scythe reread. I'm planning on picking up Thunderhead, but the like ebook copies of my library are on hold. I do own a physical copy, so I'll probably read that, but I'm already reading another physical book right now, which is The Line of Beauty, which I'm still not finished with, but I'm like 65% of the way through. That is just such a slow and steady book for me. I've mentioned it before, but the way that it's going is almost like, not plotless, but like, it's just not a very like plot-driven book. It's more about the characters, which I don't dislike. It's just not captivating me as much as some other things that I've been reading. So there's that. But Scythe, I ended up upping my rating from 4 to 5 stars. I love that series. Like when I read it the first time, I was very like cautiously optimistic, but I just have such fond memories of it now. It's only been 2 years, but it just is a nice, like, I don't know. It's nice to read something that I know what's going to happen, and like, I'm still excited about what's going to happen, and it's fun to like pick apart the clues for future books that are in the first book, which I didn't think there were that many. I remember reading the final book in that series and being like, well, this is out of nowhere, but it's not really. So that's nice. So I'm reading that. I did finish The Queen of the Tearling on audio. I think 4 stars, and I'm almost done with Invasion of the Tearling now. I just went straight into book 2. And this book series is, I don't want to spoil it because finding out what I'm thinking was like part of the magic, but I'm not sure exactly how to talk about my thoughts without spoiling anything. So what I can tell you is it is a fantasy series. It's listed as dystopia, and now I know why. And it's like a really interesting twist and turn of events. I don't think I've ever read a book that has the like world building type story that this book has. And maybe that's just showing, maybe a lot of you have read that because it's pretty old and you've read a bunch of other things like it, but I haven't. So I'm really enjoying that. Parts of this book are written from like other perspectives of other characters that we don't follow. And when that happens, especially because I'm reading the audiobook, you just sort of go into this other character for a second. And at first I thought that my audiobook was messed up and that I was getting another book. And then I realized that they're all connected, and it's so interesting. So I'm really enjoying that one. I don't know if I'm going to jump right into book 3. I think I can. I don't remember what it's called, but something of the Tearling. So I might do that. And then there's a prequel too that I want to read now, called Beneath the Keep. And I think it's about like so you're getting like snippets of things that happened 300 years before the start of this book. And I think that's what Beneath the Keep is sort of more about. And I'm very interested to read that now. So like this book has really hooked me. It's like very different than I thought it was, because the premise of the first book, I hope I've mentioned this, but if I haven't, just briefly, we've got this girl, Kelsey, who is 19 years old. She's been kept in a forest for 18 years. I think she moved there when she was a baby, and she was given this scar on her arm to mark her before she went, because she's supposed to be the next queen of this kingdom, but they had to hide her from assassination attempts. So she's been raised by, I'm sorry if you heard Murphy burp. That's disgusting, sir. She's been raised by these people who you find out used to work for her mother, the queen's guard, or not guard, but like they worked in her mom's cabinet or whatever you would call that. And the queen's guard, her mother's old guard, comes and finds her. And she has these sapphire necklaces the sapphire necklace that is the other thing that's like, what's the word? her mark. So the necklace and the scar are what they've been looking for. And they find the girl who's 19 who has the necklace and the scar, so she's the queen of this kingdom. And they have to bring her back to the kingdom, and then she has all these lofty ideas about what her mother was like as a ruler, but she doesn't really know. And then we find out that her mom made this deal with the Morts, I wish, the Red Queen, which is like a neighboring queen. And you don't know anything. She like keeps her name really close to her chest, so you're not supposed to know who she is. Which, air of mystery. I really liked that. You also find out who she is in the second book. But, which again is just another thing that's so fun. But I'm all over the place. So she finds out that her mom has made this deal with them to do like human traffic. So she's been like selling slaves. And there's lots of like pretty triggering stuff in here, like child abuse, sexual abuse, pedophilia. Not like described. None of the characters are actively doing these things while you're watching. But you hear about it, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes a difference to people who would be triggered by that kind of thing. I think it makes a difference for me. I don't think I could read about like active pedophilia, but maybe I could and it wouldn't. I don't think it would trigger me, but I think it would bother me, if that makes sense. Like I think it would be worse for me. I don't know. Okay, anyways, it's so good. It's so good. I also, for some reason, thought this was YA. No, ma'am, it is not. I think maybe just because of the time that this book came out, and Kelsey being 19 at the start of it makes people lump it with YA, but it's very much an adult book. But I'm loving it. I'm really, really enjoying it. And I don't know if I mentioned this, Peruse Project. This has been on my TBR for a while, but Reagan from Peruse Project did a video recently where she went through like her old favorites from some year. And she had Invasion of the Tearling as one of her favorite books. And then she was like, oh yeah, the series is so good, I forgot about it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's been on my TBR forever. I wonder if my library has copies of it. Sure enough, audiobooks, and we're reading them, and I'm loving it. So if you've read that, please let me know. I think it's going to become like my new obsession for at least a little bit. But I will let you know if I have other updates. I also got an ebook. I like to have one of each going. So the ebook I have right now is called The English Patient. I don't remember the author. I will hopefully pop a picture here. But it's a like modern classic. It came out in the 90s, I think, and I just started reading it, but I'm barely at all into it. I do like the writing style. It is a little different than anything else that I'm reading, but it's about a group of people, I think at the end of World War II, I want to say. I don't know exactly if it's the end of World War II or the end of World War I. I think it's World War II, but I don't really know why I think that. But they're in this Italian villa, and they're from all over because they're just like, there's an injured guy, there's a nurse, and they're just like trying to pick up the pieces of their life basically after this war. So we will see where that goes. I don't really know what the premise of that is supposed to be. It's just one of those books that's been on my like list of books that I should probably read at some point forever. And I don't know if my sisters had to read it for school or what. A lot of the books, like classics that I have heard about constantly, were assigned to my siblings in school that I just didn't get assigned. So I don't know if this is one of those or why it's like on my mind, but I'm going to read it. I'll let you know how it goes. So far, I barely started it, but because I wanted to finish the other things that I had going. So now that I've finished some things, I'm going to hopefully start that in earnest, and I will keep you apprised of my progress. Hello. I'm checking in because I just finished The Fate of the Tearling, which I don't think I checked in when I finished Invasion of the Tearling, but I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I just finished The Fate of the Tearling, which is the last book in that trilogy, and I'm honestly really torn about how I feel about it. If you've read it, you probably know why I did not really love the ending. I don't hate it as much as some people online, because I like looked up the ending after I read it, because I was like, wait, what just happened? So I looked it up, and it seems like a lot of people seem to really hate it, at least of what I found. I don't know that I like absolutely hated it, but I do have a lot of questions. I feel like it left a lot of plot holes kind of, and it does, I don't know that it's necessarily a cop-out, but it doesn't feel like the idea for the ending was as fleshed out as the rest of the series felt like it was. And so for those reasons, I'm pretty disappointed. My thing is I really enjoyed like 3/4 of the book. So I wanted to give it, like it was a 5-star book until the ending. And then the ending was like a 2-star ending. So I'm trying to decide if I want to give it 3 stars, which is like, it feels kind of harsh because I don't feel like this book is just meh, but I do like, the ending does cheapen it for me. So I'm trying to decide between 3 stars and 4 stars. So that's what I'm doing right now. I did get in a hold from my library for another audiobook, so I'll be listening to that right after this. And that is The Collected Regrets of Clover, which is a new release, I believe. Let me look up what it's about. I put it on hold a while ago. I think it was for a prompt of some sort for a readathon that I ended up not doing. but it's been on hold for like a couple months and now I just got it. So I'm gonna quickly look up what it's about and I will let you know. So it's been compared to The Midnight Library, which is one of my favorite books, and Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, which is a book that I thought was just fine. So we'll see how I feel about this. But it says, what's the point of giving someone a beautiful death if you can't give yourself a beautiful life? And it follows Clover, who is a death doula. She has like had a couple of really close encounters with death from a young age. And so a death doula, from my understanding, is someone who like is not a nurse, but they like go with people who are dying or like either really elderly or really sickly, who are probably going to die soon, kind of like people who would be on hospice, and she like guides them through death and like being at peace with dying, I think is what a death doula does. But it says that she has no life of her own until the final wishes of a feisty old woman send Clover on a trip across the country to uncover a forgotten love story and perhaps her own happy ending. So I'm really excited to read this one. It sounds really interesting. I really like books that deal with grief and like loneliness and the human condition in that way. I also tend to really enjoy books about like discovering your life and like discovering a love for life, which is what The Midnight Library kind of did for me. I know people had their qualms with that book. It really worked for me. I really liked what it was doing. So I am very excited to read this book. I will let you know how it goes as I read it. I'm still reading The Line of Beauty. I'm no farther in it. I have not continued reading. And I'm still reading The English Patient, but again, I have not really kept up. I have no notable progress in either of those books. The month is almost over, so I actually I'm going to listen to it when I can, but I'm going to try to read physically most of the time so I can finish those two books that I was talking about, The Line of Beauty and The English Patient, this weekend, and hopefully have a clean slate for October 1st, which is Sunday. I'm going to be doing Becca's Bookathon, so if you're watching this vlog and you like my vlogs, I know this is very boring. Hopefully Bookathon will be more exciting, but I'm going to roll as I go again this year, and I don't know if I'm going to do weekly vlogs for it or if I'm going to do just a whole month. I'll just sort of see how much footage I get, but that's my plan for that. I also have debated doing Halloween, but again, I'm not really sure if I'm going to do that either. So if I did weekly vlogs, it would probably be a combination of Bookathon during the week and then Halloween on the weekend, but I don't have a TBR set for either. I've been enjoying mood reading, so that's what I'm going to continue to do. And again, I'll keep you updated with hopefully my final thoughts on The English Patient. I'll actually probably do a check-in on The English Patient because I haven't really talked about it at all. I've read like a chapter. I don't even think a full chapter, but I've read like a little bit of the beginning. And I will update you on The Line of Beauty when I finish it, which will hopefully again be this weekend. I only have, how many pages do I have left? Like 100 and something. So it can be done. Just, I have to sit down and actually read it. Yeah. I have like 150 pages left of that. So we'll see. But yes, that's my update for right now. I have a meeting in like an hour and I have to go do that. So I will talk to you when I talk to you next. Okay, hello. Murphy heard me start talking and he's under the covers and now he's trying to get out from under them. He's over there. I'm also watching Reading Sprints. They're from last night, but it's Saturday. It's the last day of September and I just wanted to let you guys know I will not be finishing the books that I said I was going to finish, because I have plans tonight. I had plans last night. We did a game night with my sister and her husband and their kids, which was so fun. The kids didn't play. They're 1 and 4, so they did not play, but we played Risk. And it got a little heated, but it was fun. So I wanted to just do some final recaps of this vlog. I'm about a quarter of the way through. I don't even know if I mentioned this book. I got an audiobook of The Collected Regrets of Clover, which came out this year, I believe. And so I had it on hold forever at the library. I don't remember what I put it on hold for originally, but I got my copy. So I'm listening to that. I'm about a quarter of the way through, and it's about this woman, Clover, who is a death doula, which basically means she guides people through the last days of their lives. And the premise of the book is that she goes to these things called death cafes, which I'm not sure if these are real or not, but she lives in New York. And they have different ones all over the city. And basically it's a place for people who have just experienced a loss or are just confused about death and want to talk about it, can go and talk in a group, kind of like an AA meeting, if you will. So it's like supposed to be kind of anonymous. But she goes there, she meets this guy Sebastian at one. She just instantly doesn't like him. And then he pops up at another one and she eventually is like, listen, I'm a death doula. I don't trust you. And he's like, oh my gosh, my grandparent is dying. Will you be their death doula? So that's like where we are right now, a quarter of the way in. And I know from the synopsis that this grandmother is gonna basically give Clover a like list of either regrets or some sort of, not scavenger hunt, but like that type of thing to make Clover like go live her own life is the premise of the book. I'm enjoying it so far. It's not great. I think like I was really excited for this release when I heard about it, but right now it just feels kind of mid. It was compared, I did talk about this because it was compared to The Midnight Library, which is one of my favorite books of all time, and Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, which is a book that I thought was just fine. It was just okay for me. So that's that book. I am still reading it and, you know, enjoying it for what it is. But I'm not obsessed with it. Right now, it honestly feels like a 3-star read, which is not great, but we'll see how it goes. I am still reading The Line of Beauty. This is one of the ones that I wanted to finish in September. I did not realize today was the last day of September, so I'm not going to. I'm like 286 pages in. It's a 400 and something page book, 440 pages maybe. So I won't be finishing it this month. Hopefully I can finish it tomorrow maybe, and then really start my October reading on Monday. Because the problem is tomorrow is October 1st, and so I'm trying to start Bookoplathon or Spookoplathon and vlog that experience. That's why I'm closing this vlog out right now, but I'm worried that I won't have time to finish any of these books, and if I pick something for Spookoplathon, like I was hoping to have like pretty much a clean slate. So I had like a physical book that I could start, an ebook that I could start, and an audiobook that I could start, but now it's sort of feeling like I won't have that. So we'll see. We'll just see how it goes. But that being said, I'm also reading the ebook of The English Patient, which frankly, I'm not that far into it. I'm like 5%. So it's possible that if I don't read any more of that and I get a book that I have an ebook available to me from my library, or I get a prompt that I can fulfill with an ebook, it's possible. I'm not saying I will do this, but it is possible that I will pick a different ebook and just not cut my losses on The English Patient, but like pick it back up at a later date. I also could use it to fulfill a prompt is what I'm gonna say right now, because I'm not very far into it. I would not do that with this because I am so far into it. I'm more than halfway, and I would not do it with The Collected Regrets of Clover because I'm like more than a quarter of the way through that. But that's my thought. I don't have any other thoughts on The English Patient because I haven't read any more of it. So, but I'm going to see Dylan Earl tonight. I don't know if there will be a clip of that. He is from Arkansas. I don't know where in Arkansas he's from, but I don't know if he's from Fayetteville or like based in Fayetteville or not, but I've seen him at least once, if not twice. He's pretty good. He does like alternative country, which is fun. It's like very leaning back towards like old school type country. So not like bro country, but also not like Johnny Cash-esque. It's very like, I don't know if you listen to it, it's got a very like 70s, 60s country feel. But I like Dylan Earl a lot. And we're going to see him tonight at this bar in Strawberry Hills. That'll be fun. I made pinwheels for dinner. I inserted a clip. I've been just like in the mood to cook some things. I made a quiche this morning. I had a clip of that. It was like a spinach and onion quiche. Very tasty. And I made pinwheels for dinner, which if you don't know, it's like a kid's thing, I think, or like a party appetizer. But basically you mix like cream cheese and sour cream to make the cream cheese like not runnier, but like less thick. To thin it out, I guess is the way to say that. And you put that with like seasonings. I did dill, salt, and pepper. That was it. And you spread that on a tortilla, and then you put your veggies of choice, or like meat, I guess you could do, but I don't eat meat, so I don't do meat, and I don't like cold cheese. It's weird. I can't explain it, but I did carrots, green onions, broccoli, and bell pepper. Very tasty, chopped up real fine, sprinkled on top. You roll them up, you put it in the fridge for a while to like harden. Not harden, but like, so you can cut it and it makes like a pinwheel. I'll try to show you that as well. I haven't cut them yet. The other thing that I have is this hard seltzer from Costco, the Kirkland brand. These are pretty good. They're not like the best seltzers I've ever had, but they're really not bad. So if you have a Costco, I recommend it. We did Costco today. We got a new duvet, which is not what's on our bed right now, but we need a duvet cover for it. But we've been using my full-size duvet from when I was in high school and had a full-size bed, and we got a king-size bed this year. So it's not exactly functional, but it works for what it is. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching this vlog if you made it to this point. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.